AITA making my future in-law babysit his siblings during my wedding? My fiancé's aunt is giving me hell right now because fiancé and I decided on a child-free wedding. My fiancé comes from a big family, particularly on his dad's side. His dad is one of 8, including 2 step-siblings, and his grandfather is one of 10. His father is also the only one of the siblings with a single child, so my fiancé has no siblings of his own but a big number of cousins, some of which he's quite close to. The aunt mentioned above is mother to 8 of his cousins and another one on the way. My fiancé and I decided, after a long discussion, that our wedding ceremony and reception will be child-free. We don't want any interruptions, distraction, destruction, etc. This is meant to be our special day, and we both agreed that for us and our wedding, the best decision is to allow only those 18 and older to attend. It also keeps the attendance party smaller, which fits better with the budget and venue capacity. We decided that, in addition to this, we would host a family gather at my parents' home a week after the wedding that all the kids could attend so they could feel included in the celebration without fiancé and I worrying about anything. This whole plan felt like a win-win. Invitations went out last week, specifying the event would be child-free and that there would be a family party a week later that would be all ages. And calls fiancé about the mistake on the invites. He tells her it's not a mistake. She asks if it applies to her. He says it does. She fights him on it. He stays firm. And then she gives the most bullshit response I've ever heard. She tells my fiancé that because the wedding is child-free none of her children will be coming except the one in her womb. She says that all of her sweet babies that love him so much, including her oldest, 19M, will be staying at home instead of celebrating his wedding with him. Fiancé asks what she means since said cousin is meant to be one of his groomsmen, and she goes off on him about how she can't afford a sitter to watch 7 kids and that it isn't fair that they get left out while the eldest is included, and even if she could afford a sitter, she isn't going to trust some stranger with her kids. My fiancé hung up before she could rant anymore, but she's been blowing up our phones since then. The only thing that has us questioning if we might be assholes is fiancé's cousin texting him about the whole mess and asking if we just allow kids at the wedding so he can still be in it and won't have to babysit. We feel bad for him, and we want him in our wedding, but we don't want children there. And if we just make an exception for aunt's children but no one else's, well, piss everyone else off. But if we allow everyone to bring their kids, we'll be miserable. Are we assholes here? Should we just suck it up? Comment. Legal adult cousin has nothing stopping him from attending. And can't afford a babysitter so she can watch her own kids. Really, the 15 and 13-year-old should be fine babysitting the others for the evening, but that would of course cut into aunt's demand. That was my thought at first too. But if the 19-year-old lives with his parents and they threaten to kick him out over this, would Op take him in? At the very least, if the cousin defies them, they can make his life miserable for a long time. Sounds like Auntie Dearest is just the type to do it, too. Op's fiancé should at least tell her she's not invited if cousin isn't able to attend the wedding because of her. I mean, she'd be probably just as disruptive as any of the kids, or worse, if she's allowed to attend after this anyway. But maybe he'll still get his cousin to come if he can blackmail his aunt back. I had the same thought. Lots of kids are babysitting for money at those ages. There is no reason 19-yo has to stay home. I would pull a reverse Uno and tell the family she is trying to ruin the wedding by keeping your groomsmen away for no good reason and it is causing major distress to the bride. Lay on the guilt. I also find this shit infuriating. Like, did you think about what having that many kids would actually look like and the resources it requires? Clearly not. And now it's everyone else's problem. I have several acquaintances who say they want a lot of kids, and as a pediatric RN, I care for children from large families, and the critical thinking just isn't there. An essential and often missing component of routine, preventive care for parents and families is parenting classes and education about the resources required to provide adequate care for their children, as well as the potential consequences of poor care. Not that anyone would listen. Next story 2. AITA for telling my fiancé that what he is offering is not good enough. First off, sorry for any grammar/spelling mistakes writing this late at night, on a phone and in tears. So I 19F am engaged to my fiancé. We have known each other for about 8 months and have been engaged for 3. I just preface this by saying that I have never planned on working growing up. I am currently in university. It's not to say that I don't have a work ethic, it's just I was brought up in a household where my father was constantly working. He was making a good amount of money. I can't say for sure how much, but me and my sister both attend private schools out of the country, as well as having whatever we wanted when we were home. This led me to wanting to do the same thing as my mother. She was sort of a homemaker, but to be honest, she mostly just organized charity events and shopped. This is not to put her down, because when we were home she definitely tried to be present. I am relatively attractive person, so I always assumed that I would either find a husband on my own or I would look for one of my father's friends' sons. However, last September when I started university, I met my now fiancé, and he was getting his doctorate in financial strategy. He's kind, handsome, and definitely has good career prospects. Her are both in Oxford, so I know he definitely has what it takes to do well in finance. The problem started when he realized that I used a card that is for my father's bank account for everything. My father has given me this card for living expenses while I'm in university. However, he started to ask about me getting a job to pay for things. I mentioned to him that with going out for events and buying clothes and occasionally jewelry, how I would pay for that with a job I could get while in uni. He said that when I finished I would only be able to shop with what money I got from my job post-graduation, because he would feel compatible with me taking money off my parents when I was independent. I wasn't totally sure what he meant by this. I said, well, how much do you think you will earn when you graduate? And he said between £50,000 to £60,000 when he first finished. I told him that I wasn't planning on working and told him that we spoke about it before, although only briefly. He said he assumed I had been joking. I told him that I was serious and that if I was expected to work that wouldn't be enough to provide for my wants/needs, and that I couldn't be with a man that couldn't prove for me, and joked he would have to work harder. In hindsight, this may have come off worse than intended. He got angry and said some things about me being money hungry and a gold digger, and left and sent me a text saying that we need a serious talk about the future of our relationship. I'm not exactly sure if I was wrong, because I do want a man who can maintain the lifestyle I have had and give me the life my father was able to give my mother. Comment: why go to college if you just want to be a trophy wife? Your fiancé seems like a logical individual, who honestly probably shouldn't have proposed to a teenager after 5 months of dating. Your life plan is unrealistic, but if you really do want to be a trophy wife, then you need to make that clear when you're dating around. Find a traditionalist. Don't marry a modern guy who expects things to be split. I'm the breadwinner in my household, but my wife pays for her hair, nails, car, and clothes if she wants them. I can buy her gifts, and I do, but she doesn't depend on me for a good amount of things. I mean, back in the 50s, women went to college solely to find husbands. Maybe it's a practice that's still common in her community. She mentioned her mom just stay home and organize events. That's rich lifestyle, and those people usually continue super traditional practices. While this is true, usually these people have money in their names, and bring their dowry/inherit fortune to the table. They are not relying on daddy's pocket money and finding a trophy husband. Then again, Op is only 19 and might have not have this conversation with parents about future money, though weird considering she is engaged. It is obvious Op has screwed view of reality, being sheltered all her life. You're incredibly out of touch with reality. With the silver spoon you've been born with, you could easily obtain some sort of BS low-effort job through networking. You cannot expect people who aren't millionaires to be able to support you in this economy. You're looking for a wealthy man to support you financially so that you can have everything you want and don't have to put in any work. That is a textbook gold digger. Why would any guy in his right mind agree to partner up with somebody who mooches rather than contributes? Who actively will make their lives harder and significantly more expensive? So what exactly are you bringing to the table other than being a trophy wife, since you're relatively attractive? Your words, not mine. If you want a man with money so you can stay home and shop and do nothing, go find one. Clearly your fiancé isn't it? It's quite telling that you don't talk about love, partnership, compatibility, more about what he can offer you financially. There's a woman out there who would love him unconditionally regardless of it he's making bank or not. Allow him to find her. I'm 90% convinced this is just an outrage generator anyway, but I'll bite. You wish to contribute nothing except going shopping with his money and being pretty for another decade or maybe 2 if you're extra lucky. You didn't mention anything you want to do, nothing about being a homemaker, being a dedicated mother, nothing a full-time housewife actually contributes, just pressing someone already poised to make more than double the average wage earn even more so. You can go shopping. In my personal view, that kind of transactional relationship is little different from being a traditional sex worker. Further, assuming I'm translating the typo correctly, you're both at Oxford but don't wish to use your university placement for anything after completion. Considering how competitive Oxford is, you robbed someone of a place who could have made something from the experience. I'm sure there's a man out there who would love you to be totally dependent on him, but this isn't the guy. Maybe in the meantime you could learn a job skill in case your plans to live off another human being don't work out. And if you do find that rich husband, better hope he doesn't lose his job, get sick, find another woman or die, because then you'll be screwed, poor and unable to support yourself.